Well, good evening, everybody. How is your week going? Wanted to share with you all this week's hymn history and harvest time. Tonight we're going to learn about a hymn I hope you've heard before. I think they sung this a lot in the Methodist church is maybe where I heard it from. But it calls me back to a time making me think of like Little House on the Prairie whenever they were gathering their crops in, taking it to the barn, everybody going to the one-room schoolhouse and Reverend Alden. I just love that picture, and we're going to learn about Come Ye Thankful People Come. This is getting to be my favorite time of year, and hopefully yours too. Just the holiday time to think about family and what we're grateful for, time to put up trees and Christmas decorations. We just finished up Halloween yesterday, and I've got my Christmas shirt on today, so I am fully ready for the holidays. So let's learn about our hymn today. This hymn was written back in 1844 by a Henry Alford, and he based it on Psalms 100, verse 4. And he was a rector of Ashton Sandford Church in England. And rector is just a fancy title for a priest or minister. His congregation was holding a fall festival, and he wanted to celebrate that with a song. And this song, the first verse is talking about celebrating the physical harvest, the abundance of wheat and grain. And the last two verses are based on the parable of the tares. And then the final verse is based on Christ's coming. And the parable of the tares, that is found in Matthew 13, verses 24 to 30. And what it is all about is a farmer who plants good seed. So he plants his wheat, and at night his enemy comes in and he plants weeds among it. And the crop grew and the weeds grew too. And the farmer didn't know this until it's too late, until he sees the weeds. And if he pulls the weeds, then he also pulls the wheat. And so he just has to let it grow, and then at harvest time, separate the wheat from the chaff. And what this refers to is basically false Christians. Are you giving lip service to Christ? Are you just trying to say, hey, look at me, I am a Christian by going to church, by reading my Bible, but maybe you're not doing those works of Christ, or when it really counts. Character is, I call it, as when nobody else is watching, what decision do you make? So, and we know in judgment times, when Christ does come, he will separate the wheat from the chaff. And what I learned about when studying for this is in the Holy Land, there is a seed called the bearded darnel. And it's referred to as false wheat. And that's because you can't tell the difference until at harvest. And so this is exactly what this parable is referring to, is the bearded darnel. You can't tell a difference until at the very end, and then it's false. So don't be that false Christian. Don't do false works. Another thing I learned about is scarecrows. And do you know that they have been around for 3,000 years? And it was the Egyptians who first started them. They needed to keep the quails out of their fields. And so what they would do is they would take wooden frames and they would put nets over them, and they would hide. And as the quail came in, the farmers jumped up and they scared them, and the quail jumped right into the nets. And so they had quail for dinner that night, and then all the crops were saved because they didn't eat the wheat. So, and then it kind of just evolved over that. People added more things to them culturally. So I thought that was quite neat. So at that, we're going to go to our celebration hymnal. And we are going to look at hymn 797. And I hope you will join me and think about what you are grateful for. Come, ye thankful people, come, praise storms begin, God our Maker doth provide for our wants to be supplied. Come to God's own temple, come, raise the song of harvest home. Well, I hope this week you all think of something that you can be grateful for and return that praise and thanks back to God. And join me on the next Hymn, History, and Harvest. Have a good week.